Yeah, man. Let me make sure my mic on right. Yeah. This is, yeah. I see me. I don't know if you see me, but I see me because I see me. We all right, man. Hey, wait. This side, this side, this side. Oh, shit. Woo! 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 Hey, yeah. I know that boy is thinking, man. He's supposed to hurt feelings, man. Got that from the chance. Man, this is exclusive, man. This is one of the first 10 original 10s right here, man. This pressed and clean, man. You know how to throw it on because we got one hell of an event planned a little bit later. So, just in case you don't know, B1 Network salute. This is B1 Brother Moses. I am a husband, father, veteran, and more house man. And today we got one heck of a content. It's a collaborative content that's been long coming. B1 Network and that boy over there at the flat motherfucking power with Brother Sanchez. And I tell you just in advance that his audience is one of those audiences that go in real heavy. And so, I'm going to be there real heavy representing like this. You know what I'm saying? He might have to give me a wrench back. Last time I was on B1 Sanchez, I mean, not B1 Sanchez, but Brother Sanchez panel, a channel that is, I had lost my whole wrench and everything, but you know how it is, man. They ain't supposed to like us too long. You know what I'm saying? There's got to be something that we're going to disagree on. If we don't disagree, then what are we doing here? There's too much shit that's wrong for us to be agreeing and shit on everything. I mean, the shit that we agree on, it should have been no problem. Why isn't it fixed? There's a lot of shit that we disagree on and the approaches that we have for it. But one of the things that we don't disagree on is African-American men representing in the YouTube content space. Brother Sanchez is one of those people with flat earthers, flat motherfucking power, who has found his niche inside of YouTube. He has been able to cultivate his audience over years of development, trial and error. He's done many collaborations, including with the Manosphere, O'Shea Duke Jackson Negro Manosphere, back when it was just like Manosphere 1.0, 2.0, before 3.0. I've seen him appear on other YouTube channels such as the House of Consciousness before it became the Conscious Sphere in my eyes, but maybe it always been the Conscious Sphere. As well as he's debated some key folks, other African Americans inside of the YouTube space. I believe he's debated Brother Top Cat, or at least they've been into discussions and had, their little one-on-ones. It's a blessed time when we can get that work in, and it's not, it's not against the pedophiles and the manosphere and those folks like that, where we know that the disagreements will never be resolved. We're not supposed to agree. There's only one way that those disagreements ever work themselves out. And we will not be on the winning end of those ones. And so I'll just say it feels good to finally be outside of those spaces. Let the algorithm breathe for a second and get it in with some folks who really do like to argue and debate. They'll follow you all through goddamn you Facebook. If you work if you work one of these fools the wrong way in they chats. So I'm just giving you the heads up. Y'all be ready, man. Whatever you want to put in a chat, you better be ready to stand on it, because there are quite a few chats where, depending on what you say and who you say it to, they will try to hold you to that same level of accountability. I don't give a fuck what you say you believe in, as long as you're able to stand on it. Because I could learn from it if you stand on it. But if you can't help me unchallenge you, like you don't even got to persuade me. Keep the shit logical, and we could get it in, man. Because it's all information, and some of it's gonna be way more useful than other information, but it's information. Now, other than just agreeing that we do need more African Americans in the YouTube space representing and getting the type of content out there that does carry a Black first perspective, it does carry, our persona, our swag, the way we like content, and that everybody likes. Live on Channel 5, we have breaking news type of information shared with us. Sometimes we do like to just get into a space where we got the chat that's flowing, we got the information flowing. You don't got to focus too hard, but I'm saying, the person who's delivering the message, they know how to bring that content out for you. And then you also have folks who they don't have to have like a super personality, but we respect the message. There's a passion behind it and something that we can get behind and respect as content consumers. So, it does me all great. It does. Without further ado, the other side of that coin is Taz Exclusives, the GOAT. Incomparable Taz Exclusives. There's a number of different channels to which you can find them. Just look up Taz Exclusives. Looking up Taz Exclusives may give you access to a lot of the hate content that's been created with his name in the title, and so it can give you a full breadth of the years that he's put in his commitment into being Black media, Black male media, or Black media I think he surpassed black male media once he realized that the predominant black male media spaces, whether it was the, the House of Conscious Sphere or the Negro Manosphere or whatever they might be, many of those predominantly male spaces were still stuck in the same plantation, if not before. Some of them even go all the way back to, thousands of years. And to have a mentality that is so stuck in that long ago, while there's just information, and once again, people can find benefit and value in whatever information, to me, it seemed to be a bit regressive. Bugs, look at my nephew on this motherfucker, man. Hey, Bugs, man, what you doing, man? You got to hit me up, man. We got to we got to let them know how we actually talk to each other, one another, because, they still getting used to my voice, man. They still getting used to me. Look, hey, but Bugs, hey, peep this, though. These debates and shit that, that I've been participating in, well, I haven't really been participating as much because niggas be dumb. You already know that shit. But what we're starting to see is almost a bit of like foresight. Like some of the issues that we had been, trying to have these conversations with these niggas about for so long. Now it's like on a national level, like they're starting to hear those stories. So I'll give you an example. The Roe versus Wade, the protections for women's rights being revoked. They revoked the protection, the constitutional protection for women to decide at which time they should become, parents, which time that she should become a mother. And that used to be protected. The case that they were looking at is one that had two parts with it. The first part was whether or not it should be a constitutional protection. And I think that's more affiliated with Casey. And then the other part of it was the actual court case. And that's out of Mississippi. And the case of Mississippi was putting the timeline on women to make that, on young ladies and women, but females altogether, to make that decision by 15 weeks. And so just imagining it from our perspective, it would be more or less the same. You're a veteran, I'm a veteran. We're in a family, we're in a good relationship, we're in a good spot, and we get ready to deploy. And we deploy and get that letter, and it's not the Dear John letter, it's the other letter where she's telling us that she's pregnant. But by the time she's able to actually bring us in to make that decision, we're already deployed and such. And so she's either going to have to spend, a great deal of her pregnancy alone, and even for us, it's like, damn, I would want to be there for some of those key moments. But that decision now, that terminus decision on whether or not she can say yes or no to being a parent, is now taking out of not just her hands, but our hands as veterans, as the ones who would be deployed. Whereas we would have looked at it and been like, you know what, this is my woman, this is my wife, this is my life. We would have wanted a bit of say so. We don't get a say so as the men of as the respectable men of the women who are in our lives, because the state the federal government determined that woman who would have under any other circumstances been good to go with us and our decision, now she's forced to make that decision based off what states say. And so that conversation got deeper. It could be a bit, foresight, because I've been telling people like this Roe versus Wade argument is not one that we should have been having as men in our spaces, but they continue to make it about, oh, well, black women, they want to abort, they don't want to have black men's children, and the things that they were hearing black women say, nephew. And so I'm like, look, y'all, if y'all not ready to actually go into the details of that, that's something that is really being determined by the Supreme Court right now. And so the decisions that you're making and the things that you're putting online are on the wrong side. I tried to tell them, nephew. I tried to tell them they were on the wrong side of it. And so now as they're stripping away the rights that, when we were boys, we could understand. When I was a boy and I was afraid, I could understand being the guy inside of a relationship where I get that news and it's supposed to be the best news of my life. My woman is she's going to have my baby. And so I'm supposed to be ecstatic about whether it's going to be a boy or a girl. But rather than being able to reflect on whether it's a boy or a girl, for us as boys, we had the tendency to say, oh shit, and have a sense of fear about that. Am I ready to be a father? And so we could be selfish and look at it just from the man's lens as this is something that, whether or not I'm ready or not, it's going to be thrust upon me. Now imagine that from the reverse. The woman who said yes to us first and foremost, because there's a billion, more than 3 billion women out there. The woman who said yes to mine is my woman. I may hold that tradition. That's my lady right there. I hold mines and I value it. But despite how much I value it, her rights are superseded by the state and her protections, whether or not she could look at me and say, Daddy, I don't think that we're ready. And even right now, I've been married 15 years. They can still supersede that. And if she says, I'm not ready, they put a timeline on her to determine whether or not she can make that statement, which means they put the timeline on me. For me, it's always been a no-brainer. Support the woman, and the best that we could to support her against the state, because the state is the one trying to take the rights. Again, the federal government was called in to determine, because Mississippi was like, no, this woman has 15 weeks, or this young lady or this girl has 15 weeks. That's the deadline. And I hate to say it like that, but pun intended. They put a deadline on her to where she can decide if she's ready to be the adult. And so here's a couple of scenarios where it sucks. The young woman was getting ready to go to college, and so she was still deciding whether or not she wanted a 4-year degree or she wanted the 2. And so pregnancy comes in, because that's going to be a whole year worth of a decision whether or not she can actually manage that course load. For a veteran, we already know the salary is shady. But being outside of that, even just being a working class man that wants to, take care of home, it's still like that's a decision that we should have been able to make within our own household. Now, if we make the decision and say, you know what, we're not ready, the federal government just decided that we are not protected even as family. It's not just the woman, but as a family, family's rights have just been stripped a bit. The constitutional protections that would have protected her also protected us as a couple. For her to lose that right meant that we lost that right as a couple. And so the Supreme Court can continue to expand marriage rights to include gays, but for the heterosexual relationship for a young African American, we'll do the military if that's what it takes. We'll get degrees if that's what it takes. But first and foremost, we want to hold down our role and responsibility as men, to love and honor our women and to reproduce and have viable children who can do the same. I mean, and that part of us is not going to be removed. It's not going to be debated. It's not going to be argued out. If you try to convince me that I'm not supposed to love the Black woman that I'm with, we were never going to agree. I mean, and even if I was somebody who was a swirler, I still believe that the relationship bonds between woman and man should always be stronger than the relationship bonds between man and man. It's just not something that people are going to convince me otherwise. Like, they can have all the homeboys and boyfriends they want in their life, but once it turns into manhood, I'm not trying to go home with none of these niggas. These niggas hit me for my motherfucking last. They hit you for your rent money in a dice game just so you could go home and not pay rent. But them is the homeboys that we supposed to put before the woman that loves us and bear our children. Man, if they don't get the fuck out of here. Anyway, foresight comes because the type of people that we've been debating have always been on the side of, failed relationships, blaming the woman for failed relationships, never being able to keep it real and say that they were the ones who wanted the financial or the economic or even the physical abortion in the first place. Those are the type of dudes who would have been advocating for the abortion, the same types that would have been advocating for the morning after pill, because they do want the responsibility or the accountability to fall on the woman. For reasons like that, it seems to believe that death inside of the Black community is more welcome than life. And I'll say that again. For reasons like that, it seems that death is more welcome. We're more conditioned to appreciate death than we are life inside of the Black community. And that hurts. And debates like this become necessary. We have to move away from the spaces where they've been predominantly manosphere or bitch ass niggosphere or punk ass niggosphere or so religious fear that they still believe that, the sky is going to crack open and angels riding horses and shit is going to come down and save them from the conditions that we experience on earth. You know me, you've been with me long enough, nephew, to know that I say hell on earth right now. That's a hoe for you right there. Hell on earth. That's a hoe for you. And while they would like to make the degenerate Black male would like to make it seem like the Black woman is the hoe on earth, evidence points otherwise. Evidence points more towards a progressive Black woman making a ideal world her responsibility with or without the Black man, and mostly without the Black man, right? And so mixed daughters have more opportunity than ever, because the dark-skinned Black man has made more of an effort to be with and to appreciate, other race women. Hands up, don't shoot. That's on them. I don't agree, but that's where they at. Next, you have the African American woman's response, where to be as vulnerable as she has always been, she, for some dumb ass reason, is still waiting for that nigga to come back and say, you know what, here's the right thing, here's the path, and hopefully, there's a space for you in this life. And to open up that life for a Black woman. But unfortunately, she was alone for so long that I don't see how that there is even a debate whether or not her recreation of a dark-skinned Black child is on the table. I think that the African American woman is not only well within her rights, despite what the federal court says, but she is well within her rights to either not produce said dark-skinned Black baby, or to be strictly against the reproduction of dark-skinned Black babies, which is to say, to no longer fuck with niggas no more. Hands up, the same way that I look at an African-American man and say, nigga, if that's what you're gonna do, that's what you're gonna do. I hold zero responsibility or accountability over the head of the Black woman for making a decision that she should have made a long time ago for her own survival. Now, niggas are doing it out of a state of luxury, out of a state of convenience. The African-American woman has to do it out of a state of survival. There's another message that I heard that resonates in the counter space of the manosphere, which is the feminine energy of the manosphere, that says that being a sexual worker for a young girl or a young woman, young lady, is a viable solution. I'll say that one more time. Being a sexual worker for a young girl, even, or a young lady, or becoming a young woman, is a viable solution. And that form of empowerment has started to branch out into it's branched out to form more collaborations with the Negro manosphere, which is the dating coaches, the passport bros, the red pill, the pump and dump, the sexually liberated sector of YouTube, the rated X version of YouTube, the castaway, the degenerate version of YouTube. Which is respectable after hours. I'm not going to just completely shun everybody because they're still heterosexual. Now, there are some like Save Yourself Black Men. I will never give them a credence. Incels, you have, like, there's no fucking reason. I've given you enough now. The niggas said they don't want to be with Black women. I was mad because they wanted to blame Black women. But now these motherfuckers are blaming Black women and saying Black women are destroying the community. I'm like, nigga, just leave. So they have a group called Save Yourself Black Men that advocate leaving but ain't fucking left yet. And so nigga, hell no, these niggas get no slack. And then incels, you're involuntary celibate. We've already said, look, if you swirl, that's your business, because at this point, we do need to have a message that's a little bit more consistent with where we're at. African-American women have to find themselves in a state of perpetual survival while trying to date Black. So swirl has to be necessary, or divesting has to be necessary. Even to that same extent, if they, like a lot of people say, if they procreate with a mixed person, it's better than them trying to find themselves in an unsafe position with a dark-skinned Black person. It's better for them, or safer for them, as the statistics stand, for them to not even try to produce an African-American young male, because we're seeing them grow up to become violent against their own mothers, things that I never would have saw coming. I've seen some badass niggas get locked up who still knew how to lock it the fuck up when it came to the respect that they had for their mothers. They are some disrespectful fucks to the rest of the world, including the men, which is, respected. It's expected, It's expected that young bucks will try to buck the older men in their community. That's expected. But there was a line that was drawn. It was almost like a natural state of survival for the young men that they no longer obligate to. So I've seen that change. And so I won't be an advocate. If your kid come out light skinned, man, I have to turn on my camera and show you all the light skinned people in my family already. That's not advocating anything new. So to say, that's nothing against the status quo. It's against this narrative from the pro-Black or the pro-quack or the conscious community that says that the duty or the obligation, the social obligation, is for the dark-skinned Black man and the dark-skinned Black woman to continue to be with each other despite not being able to get along. Forgive me, I do come from a space where I've seen the contrary, where dark-skinned people have worked it out. but that did not remove the toxicity or the levels of toxicity that their children had to survive while they worked it out as adults. And not all levels of toxicity result in a violent criminal or somebody who's maladjusted or maladapted to society or social norms. What I've seen is that the traumas that are experienced in a dark-skinned Black household, dark-skinned Black male, dark-skinned Black woman, wife and husband household, is that the leadership dynamic does become everything that we thought it would. The mother is still the cornerstone and the foundation of the family, holding together the young ones and our responsibilities. She's the one who will show up if we have an award ceremony or a court date. And the dark-skinned Black man, when he's in the house, that motherfucker is a superhero. Fuck them if they don't believe it. The dark-skinned African-American man, when he is in the household, is a superhero. My dad slammed the door down there every day, and I won't stick to the personal anecdote, but he was a superhero. Worked his tail off. I only saw him, I only knew that he was leaving because he slammed the door. And now by the time I got to junior high, I was working as well. But that nighttime security job, working the 2 jobs and all of that, my mom was working and going to school. Oh yeah, that struggle of was real all the way back to the relationships that originated in the 70s, let alone for the people who were born in the 70s. And then we got the children of those who were born in the 70s, like, you know what I'm saying, Big Scoob, and I was born in the 80s and shit. So shit, my parents didn't have it no easier than a struggle of relationship. My struggle of relationship was more or less the same. It took me years to be able to buy the ring that I felt my wife deserved. When I did, I celebrate that shit. I want people to hate the fact that a nigga finally bought his wife a ring. I want them to hate it. I want them to see that shit on their timeline and scroll by as fast as they motherfucker can. Like, I want them to feel just a little bit sick in their stomach to see a dark-skinned Black man who buys a dark-skinned Black woman a ring, right? Because it's not for me to be against when a nigga, and you know, I keep, when I say nigga, YouTube wants to block the algorithm. So maybe I should just keep saying dark-skinned Black man, you know what I'm saying? Like, for real. Like, I've learned from some of the women in this space that if I want to go from 30 people in the chat to 200 in the chat consistently, there are some words that just have to be revised. So I may have to do that. Dark-skinned Black man. And that's a shout out to the dark-skinned activist, Rashida Strober, the one and only dark-skinned Black, the darkism activist. I don't know if she told me that. But look, man, after that, look, before that though, before I bought the ring, and a lot of people may not understand this, it took me so long to buy my wife the house that she wanted. Look, I'd have been in a relationship years and years and years. It shouldn't have took 10, 12 years. Nigga, but when you in a struggle of relationship and your parents was in a struggle of relationship, that motherfucker credit score take hell along to build up. Man, fuck them lying ass people. Them people be lying they motherfucking ass off. Even though you built up your credit score, did not make. So look, I could tell you how long it took to build up that credit score, even as a student, just to get the ring that we wanted. The motherfuckers was not, look, they gave me the credit score. Like, you go and they say we do in-house financing. So they gave me enough financing to fuck my credit score up exponentially. I'd have been in the 600s or the 500s. You know what I'm saying? It took, hey, you remember when we was in Atlanta, right? So I left Atlanta in 2016, like 2016 moving to 2017. From there, Arizona, then to goddamn you, Charlotte, and then back here to Arizona. It's 2022. That's 2016. That's damn near, what is that, 4-6 years? And then last year, 2021, we was able to finally buy the house instead of renting all of those houses. You know, I've been moving every year too. So that hurts too, because when they're looking to see if you've established any credit, they also want to look at those alternative credit sources and shit. Oh, and 6 years was the working. At 6 years, I'm already in my 30s. At 6 years, we had damn near been married, or we had definitely been together for 10 years. So we're talking struggle love for real. I didn't even go back to college or go to a college or a university till I was in my 30s. Now, mind you, I was exceptional at it, but that's what we're talking about. 2014, 2012, I went to junior college, started taking the night classes and shit. Like 2012 is when I was like, fuck it. And by 2012, I had already been married 5 years. So you mean to tell me we've been married 5 years? I'm working, you know what I'm saying? I worked at a movie theater. I worked at a law office. I worked in my community for the most part. If anybody really knows B1 Brother Moses is from the hood. Like I was a football coach, like unpaid volunteer, driving all the way through California with a van full of young boys because we had work to do. That was my life, for real, for real. Like and like you could see like where like grants and things were awarded to the neighborhood if they know. But the struggle love was real. Me being a community activist did not make my relationship any easier. And for the woman to stick through all of that, do you know how many allegations come? Okay, so I was a rapper at one point in time. Like literally, like I sold like 70 of my own burnt discs after doing karaoke at a dive bar. It was literally like a dive bar called the American Spirit. Hate that place with a passion. I know the owners and everything. The owners, their son was actually the owners, their father was actually the principal at the high school I graduated from, Grant High. His name was Mr. Brown. His sons actually came back after graduating and after, you know, getting themselves established with their families, and they started a rival football team right there. Oh, you know Young Mo, Mr. Breaking News. What's your rap name? Young Mo. I was Young Mo. Hey, but in my defense, I was Young Mo before Young Mo, the woman, and I was Young Mo like all them youngs, nigga. There was no Lil Wayne, nigga. It was me, nigga. I dominated in the Heights. I wish I wasn't even local. I wasn't even local celebrity status, but I was in my own hood. But the Heights is so small in Sacramento. The Heights is actually small in North Sac, first of all, but the name and the reputation is huge. So being Moses from the Heights that's what can help. But anyway, I'll be getting so lost. I'll be getting so lost in the sauce. I'm talking to my nephew. I gotta let my nephew know, man. Anyway, they got a whole debate coming up. 5 minutes to the debate that's gonna pop off, man. I was on the side of introducing the other side of this debate, which is Taz exclusive, the incomparable Taz. I mean, somebody that people should actually follow and subscribe to. Out of many channels that people subscribe to, and then, you know, maybe a year later they delete it, or, you know, 2 years later they delete it. This is one of the channels that stuck with me for a while. It was actually the amount of hate, the sheer hate that the channel received that made it easier for me to stick with it. And I guess that is an homage or a tribute to being from the hood. I'm like, oh, y'all niggas don't got no hate. Everybody love you. Nigga, oh yeah, we wouldn't get along in real life. If everybody love you, then we wouldn't get along, because I know for good and goddamn you well, there is some point where I'm not gonna love you like that. Like if I'm not in a space where I can yell at a motherfucker and we can yell and it's only a yell, then I don't want to be in that space. You know what I'm saying? Like there are some spaces that have just become way too fucking sensitive. And those I admit I'm not mature enough to be in all spaces, especially those to where the levels of sensitivity are so high where I can't say shit like dark skinned black man or nigga. So once again, this is my nigga Taz though on everything. It's a dark-skinned black man. And he actually started receiving a lot of his hate in this space because he was bold enough to come forward and say, this is my wife. And his wife is actually a YouTuber. And being a married dark-skinned black man is shunned. Another one of those things where if you look at the statistics, it shows it. The only reason why we can get statistics that reflect the low levels of black male marriage is because it is shunned. It is not just something that they're not choosing to do. It is something that niggas are ostracized for. And so if there's one learning lesson, while being an African-American man, I'm not here to hate on people who swirl or who divest. What we realize is that marriage between a dark-skinned black man and a dark-skinned black woman, if anything's evident in this YouTube space, is that marriage is shunned between us. So fuck they gender war. If marriage is already going to be shunned, then there is nothing that I can do or show to demonstrate that marriage is actually worthwhile and an investment. That all of them struggle love years and being inside of those apartments, them stank ass apartments and shit, where the garbage can was hella far. Like you really had to submerge, or you had to immerse yourself in the urban culture just to take the garbage out. I remember I lived in a hood where it was like a project where the garbage can was inside the gate, and I lived on the outside to where I normally had interactions with just the outside. You know, I could park on the street, get in the car, and then leave. And there was also a parking spot on the inside where if the car didn't work as well, which is, you know, a real nigga story, you know, you could park inside. That was on Howe Avenue. But man, when you got inside that gate, that apartment was so fucking ghetto and trash. I'm talking dirty diaper ghetto apartment. That motherfucker was way and it's California, so you think that if you pay more, they would at least, you know, lightweight keep it clean, or that the cost would reflect, you know, the surroundings. Hell nah, that shit was filthy. That shit was, it wasn't even projects, it was just filthy like projects. I was on Howe Avenue, if you don't know, Howe and Edison in Sacktown, and that shit was filthy. And my experience there was like, nigga, I would drive my car in the gate all the way to the garbage, take the garbage out of my car, like the back seat or off the hood. Nigga, I would not even put the garbage inside of the fucking vehicle. I just throw that shit on the vehicle, drive through the gate, inside the gate to the garbage, get out, throw it into the garbage, get back in my car, and then drive back out to the front of the gate and park the fucking car because it was that fucking ratchet. That is struggle love. And everybody ain't got it. Everybody don't got them experiences. And that's why even before my wife got the ring that I felt she should have, she got the home that I felt she deserves. And then she got the ring. And then we got the good news that our son is following in those great footsteps. And he's killing us because he was inducted into the National Honor Society his sophomore year. I was too busy working and shit like 7th and 8th grade year. Even though my freshman year I came out with a 4.0, I didn't consistently do it through my sophomore year. So he's there. And while we had programs like MESA and BEST that were actively pursuing like competitions in STEM, he didn't have MESA and BEST. And we moved around so long. This is his first time going to a repeat school in a long time. I already knew that he was at the top of the game and national level in math and such, but I didn't know that it had made its way into like business. And so with that, he enrolled inside of college classes for his English so he could knock out some of his English courses. This is my son Q. And then he's a part of a business. It's like a course they have, but the math course had another program in it called the Future Business Leaders of America, the Future Business Leaders of America. And so as an equivalent, it was like MESA or BEST program, but it's more like the business side of it is like websites, computer businesses, things like that. So it's still STEM oriented. And so he did that at the state level and got fourth. His team is now revamped. They redid their pitch a bit. He's out at Chicago now for the national competition. I'm like, check him out, man. Try and come back with them plaques, man. And then he was inducted into the National Honor Society. So that's a shout out to son Q. So being a father and being a husband, there's nothing I can show that says that it is rewarding as a dark-skinned Black man. Proud of my dark-skinned Black wife, and we produced very, very high intelligence. But all of that shit gets me shunned. I come to YouTube and they laugh my ass right off the platforms because of other shit. So fuck these people. Word to my nephew. He got a little one. He got married. He did his time in the military and a veteran. Most likely 100% disabled for your service, but thank you anyway. So for my nephew, man, don't let him hate, man. Don't let him hate. Don't let him hate. And you know what I'm saying? I need to address my haters for what? We got 2 more minutes and he should be going live, because many of my haters weren't even my haters. It's like people who hate the fact that, yeah, that hip injury is different, nigga. That shit is for the rest of your life. Like, I can already, we know, nigga, the OGs that be at the motherfucking gas station with them hip injuries and shit, because they think it's a good thing. Like they say, oh, the military is gonna take care of you for the rest of your life. No, I fucked my hip up, motherfucker. My hip is done, nigga. like for the rest of my life, they're gonna be still talking surgeries and medications, and they act like 100% disabled is some money, nigga. That ain't no motherfucking money. Even if they don't tax it, that shit is 2 steps above poverty. And they've always used the military as a way of showing but this Black man was able to successfully do X, Y, and Z. No, it's not like that. That's not what it be. These motherfucking military people be coming back fucked up. Fucked up. Mental health is one thing, but that hip, oh my gosh, and mobility. They say you may not be able to work again, but then when you say, well, how much is disability going to pay? They be like, well, 100% disabled. Then you can get SSDI and something like that. So you really become just somebody on the state. And what does that do to a relationship? I'm a young, vigorous young man. First of all, it's not just my hip, but I was planning on using my hip. And I'm not so old to where my hip has lost value, is what I'm saying. And then secondly, like being able to work and receive like a disability or whatever it is from the government for fucking us up, that is the true benefit. That is like where justice starts to make the difference, because now, like once they really add it up, if you're no longer able to work, you're talking about making $45,000 to $50,000. Even if they say, well, taxes are 10 or 20%, 20% of $50,000 is $10,000. So $60,000 barely upgraded for the rest of your life, nigga. That shit is pennies. That is double. That is not something to where people should be celebrating. The average African American man makes $40,000 right now. That's without having served their country or sacrificed any of their body parts or bones. That fool said they took a bone out of my leg to put it into my hip. Nigga, we ain't kicking it no more at all, nigga. The GOAT is live, man. We getting ready for this debate. I am just the hype, man. B1 Brother Moses, it's been a pleasure, man. Hey, look, this is a real nigga. So we see the link. Salute Queen Cascade for dropping the link in the chat. Let's get to it, man. This conversation has to happen. Is Black dead? Hell nah, man. We real veterans out here. We're trying to show you that there are niggas who tried their very damnedest to do the right thing. Married men, we got our children. We'll be football coaches if we have to. We ain't gave up. We're still Black, so hell nah, Black is not dead. Anybody that want to say anything otherwise, well, that's just on them. They can say what the fuck they want. But I'm Black. I'm Black. I'm B1 Brother Moses, Black first, and I ain't going nowhere. You see that shit on my jacket right here, man. You can ask the whole other community. This is from the boxing community on YouTube. Champ Side, that's boxing right there. They'll tell you, oh, that's B1 Brother Moses. That nigga's legit. And I'm going to tell you one more time, that's the exclusives is legit. Let's get on over and support the content. Rock with it. 24 people rock with me as I talk with my nephew. I salute y'all. And then Queen Cascade, that's like, mwah, there it is, Queen Cascade. If I'm ever in the UK, Queen Cascade, we have to have a coffee. I don't know if you do coffee or lunch, but coffee or something. I am pretty gangsters from the hood. Yeah, I know her government. She know my, well, I always use my government. I'm Moses, man, if people don't know. Moses Jenkins. Hey, Brother Jenkins. And then I'll be releasing some more content on my community tab, just some pictures from our road trip, because that was the other part of it. So my wife, she earned her doctorate degree. She got her home. She was always able to get her own car, but it was on me to provide the home for my wife, the shelter that she wants. And then she has the ring on her finger. That was more for me than for her. I know it does something for her, but that was more for me. It makes me feel some kind of way. Like I still look at the Ring magazines and be like, yeah, I'm fucking with all of those. So that gives me a bit of, that's my show off right there. And I never knew that feeling could feel so good. And let that be said. I never knew that the feeling could feel so good till I saw that ring on my wife's finger. And then I look back at the magazines and I'll be like, yeah, I'm fucking them up right there. So, and so my wife has a 5-bedroom, 3-bathroom home. She has a ring on her finger. She has her doctorate degree. And she did her family vacation. I got some pictures that I'm going to show from that. So with that being said, my job as an African-American husband is done. I'm back on the market, bitch. Let's go. Yeah. Nah, if nothing else, look, don't let them shame you out your relationships. Don't let them shame you out of nothing. We here. We're going to fight these battles one way or the other. We're finally in a position where we're not debating somebody who, oh, and Brother Sanchez is a swirler, but we don't want that to be the worst thing that's said. The brother has a community. He's done the work to develop his platform. Similarly, we've done our work to help develop the B1 network, the founders, Taz exclusives, and Nyla says we're continuing to do our work to build the platform, to build the network on behalf of our founders. And today we got a hell of an opportunity to watch these two platforms get it in. We don't have to like each other, but we do got to get it. We got to get this work in. So let's go give them this work, y'all. And salute my wifey. Salute my life right now. Happy wife, happy life, happy spouse, happy house. However else they want to say it. Oh, lastly, my wife gave me a compliment today. She was like, there was some all type of freaky little stuff going on in the bedroom last night. Nothing happened to shit. So that's how I know I'm coming out of it, man. Depression is real too. I'll say that. And we'll talk about depression or veterans with depression after the debate. But last thing, my wife was like, it was like some, like romantic, intimate moments and shit last night. And that was such a compliment. Like, not just to a nigga's ego. But yeah, these lonely ass niggas don't got a woman who can give them a compliment like that and just say, even though nothing happened, there was some very sexy, intimate shit and just smiling from cheek to cheek about what happened last night. Like, like little shit, like kissing her on her shoulder, like, hey, babe, pull her closer, shit like that, that I was doing it physically, but subconsciously, which meant that I was able to get over the distance that had been created inside of my own bed. And that distance happens often inside of Black relationships when we have little disagreements about things like finances and shit. But just being able to overcome those roadblocks, like, does my wife have a roof over her head? Does my wife have the security, I guess, in like her shield is on her hand? Like, if there's nothing else, someone who is looking to initiate whether or not she's on the market need look no further than her hand. And then competitively, my ego, because once they look at her hand, they gonna know they can't compete with that shit right there, my nigga. They gonna know they can't compete with that, nigga. So call that shit simping if you want. I'm B1 Brother Moses, man. Simp hard. If you gonna simp real hard, nigga, get a 5-bedroom, my nigga, and put that nugget on her motherfucking head. Put that 8 bands on that motherfucker to wear. And nigga, look at that motherfucker woman. And then look, here's how we really gonna kill him. Now I gotta get her one of those dresses that actually show her form-fitted body. You know what I'm saying? Go to one of them, what is the ones? What is the Nova, the whatever, Fashion Nova, and actually show her off. Sick. And that'll be the last time I gotta make these niggas sick like that, because these niggas get on my motherfucking nerves. I'm a Black man, I am a husband, I am a veteran, I am a father. You know what I'm saying? And I am a Morehouse man. That's my time. That's all I got. B1 Brother Moses, and I'm out.